Welcome back to Voices of Influence, the podcast. I'm Chris Madrigal, and today I'm sharing chapter 3 of my mini audiobook series. And this one takes us back to October of 2024. This chapter was published in Hispanic Stars Rising, Volume 5, during Hispanic Heritage Month. It was actually published within weeks from Latinas Rising, which was the chapter I previously read. If you have not tuned into it, I encourage you to go right back to it. It's the one right before this. But this one captures a very specific moment in my life. And it's one that completely changed the way I thought about money, possibility, and what abundance actually meant. Now, what's interesting about reading these chapters now is that I get to meet an earlier version of me on these pages. I can see what she understood then, and I can also see everything she couldn't possibly have known yet. This chapter is called The Shift to Abundance. Here we go. The Shift to Abundance. Something is happening to me. I can't even explain it. Something is changing inside of me. I know it sounds crazy. I was on the phone with my husband trying to process the prior 24 hours. We had been hacked for the 50th time in less than 30 days. Only this time, we were stripped away from thousands of dollars, leaving a bank account at zero. He listened quietly and asked, "What do you mean?" I don't know. I just know that everything is happening for me. And it's happening for me even if I don't understand it right now. I was furious, looking at a zero balance bank account. How did this happen? We tried to process the prior 24 hours in details, but were left puzzled. I looked up and silently said, "I trust you, Lord." And then told my husband, God had to physically strip this money away and leave us at zero for me to realize it's not about the money. It never was. All my life, I had a limiting mindset around money. Money was hard to come by. Therefore, I had to protect it. I worked hard for money. Therefore, I had to save it. Debt was bad, or so I thought. And while our bank account was stripped of thousands of dollars, I was furious, but not scared. For the first time in my life, I knew it was going to be okay. Every time I thought of an empty bank account, I would say, I am so happy and grateful for all the money that is flowing into my account. That day, the conversation ended with, I know we will get the money back. I don't know how, I don't know when, but we will. We stayed tethered to that vision. And 1 week later, every dollar was back in our account, despite the bank telling us we may never recover it. The shift. Growing up with a limited mindset around money became an obstacle when I started my own business. Every decision was made around money and not the possibility of expansion and growth. I wanted to grow my business, but lack and limitation only produced more limiting beliefs. The moment our bank account hit zero was the moment I realized I had it all wrong. This was the start of my shift to abundance. From that day forward, I became insanely focused on an abundance mindset. When a limiting belief came through, I dismissed it and flipped the script to an abundance of gratitude. I began to envision a life free from my corporate job, a life where I fulfilled every dream in my heart, and in that process helped others achieve theirs. In less than a year, the shift to abundance led me to become an international best-selling author, launch my podcast, and quit my 20-year corporate career to become an entrepreneur. Now, as a coach, speaker, author, and host of my podcast, I elevate the collective consciousness of women across the globe. Now, reading that today, there is something I understand differently. At that time, I thought the shift was about abundance, and it was. I had spent so much of my life making decisions from protection, protecting the money, save the money, don't make the wrong move. But looking back now, I can see that something even bigger was happening. I was learning how to trust myself when the evidence in front of me told me I shouldn't. That bank account said zero. My circumstances gave me plenty of reasons to panic, and yet something inside of me knew that this isn't the end of the story. I think that's true for reinvention too. We often want evidence first. We want to know the next move is going to work. Otherwise, we're not willing to take the step, right? We want the guarantee before we leave the job, change the relationship, start the business, use our voice, or become the woman we can feel ourselves becoming. We want that level of guarantee that is not part of the journey. But some of the biggest shifts in our lives happen internally long before there's anything externally saying that it's the right path, right? And when I look at the woman who wrote this chapter in 2024, she couldn't see everything that was coming next. She just knew something inside of her had changed. And maybe that's where you're at right now. Maybe you can't fully explain what's changing in your life. Maybe you don't have that next chapter figured out because you're not supposed to. But you know the way that you've been living or the way you've been making decisions or seeing yourself does not fit anymore. So don't dismiss that. Sometimes reinvention begins with nothing more than the realization of, I don't believe what I used to believe anymore. And that can change everything. And maybe that's the question I want to leave you with today. What has already shifted inside of you that your life hasn't caught up with yet? Because you don't necessarily need to start over. Sometimes you simply need to recognize where you've outgrown an old way of thinking, of living, of interacting. And if you're in that season, I created a free alignment report to help you begin to see where you may be in or out of alignment with your unique design. You can grab yours through the link in the show notes. And if this chapter spoke to you, share this episode with a woman who may be standing at the edge of her own shift. I'll be back with the next chapter in the Mini Audiobook Series. But until then, remember, it's alignment first, then evolution. That's reinvention. Until next time.